Vroom, 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 vroom. Honk, honk. Get in, losers. We're going struggling. Vroom, 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 vroom.
Hello, fellow warriors, and welcome to another Ride and Struggle Bus, where every wheel is an empty triangle. So this is it. This is our third and final game of our little tournament report here. We got to play against a 2-Dan, which is fun. We knew that there was a good chance that we were going to be playing, a stronger 1-Dan player. I was not expecting to play a 2-Dan player. On top of that, it was an even game. You guys may notice that the background's a little on fire. You might be like, hey, Gabe, what's going on there? So the reason for that is even though this game was played over the board in real life, we were transported into the realm of TieGem where there is zero chill and all games are decided by whose sword is sharper. And that is what happened with this game. I was not able to record this game as I was playing. My opponent was not comfortable with me recording it, and that's perfectly fine. Also, I was pretty tired, so I'm pretty glad that I could just focus on the game as opposed to noting it as we were playing. With that said, I was able to replay the game afterwards and make a little copy of it up to a certain point, but the game's decided at that point in time anyway. So yeah, we've got a really exciting one for you. I hope you guys enjoy it. Also, real quick, I've updated my Patreon page. I've opened up some of the tiers because they were full and people couldn't join. Also, tweaked around with the rewards a little bit, but added stuff. They're all better now. And then added a tier if there's somebody out there who really wants to study hard with the winter months coming up. So go take a look at the rewards there. As per always, I'd like to thank my opponent for playing us today. I'd like to thank you guys for watching these videos, and I'd like to thank my Patreon members for supporting the channel. So anyway, let's get into this really fun game. Okay, so we are black for this one, again against a 2-Dan in an even game. So you may be wondering how that works. Well, the way the tournament system works, they run it with McMahon ranking, and so everybody's ranked in their initial strength. So strongest player on top, weakest player on the bottom, and you go in order. And as you win or lose, you move up and down that bracket. And so in this case, I had won my first 2 games. My opponent had lost his first 2 games, and so we met. Also, the ratings, either the ratings adjust real time, and we were within, the delta was within 1, so this was going to be an even game, or it goes by the McMahon rankings, and if you're close enough, it's an even game. Not fully sure there. All I know is this was an even game. My opponent gets full Comey. So again, we are black here. As black, I like playing mini Chinese, which aims to, if our opponent plays there, we pull back and kind of just form this, this like loose framework. I enjoy it. We typically get pincered here, which was the case. I jumped into the 3-3. He blocked. I extended. He extended. We did this little variation, and then we play here. And so this is pretty typical. Often the pincer comes one closer, but that's fine. He then came and approached here, and I attached. He hane'd, I pulled back, and then he did the tiger's mouth. And what's funny about this was the day before the tournament, the very day before the tournament, I saw a video talking about this exact shape. It was a video that Ben Keogh had put out, and he went over how to handle this exact situation. So like all tournament, I was like, I want one of my opponents to do the tiger's mouth, and so here we are. So the plan here is we peep. If he blocks, we play here. Gives us good shape, gives us good outside influence, makes white shape a little clunky. And if white wants to resist with this, then you hane on the underside. Because if white goes to block, then you get the Atari, and these 2 stones are in a lot of trouble. So that's typically not what happens. White goes and turns to take the outside. We get the Atari. White has to connect, and then we extend. And at this point in time, I was like, hey, I did the thing. It worked, and now we're ahead in the game. I felt way ahead in the game anyway. AI is like, calm down, black. You're up by half a point. But I got the moral victory. So anyway, so white then decides to jump into the 3-3. I just want Sente at this point in time, so I do the Sente variation, and then I come back. Oh, he finishes off, and then I come back and play here to take this away. There is a really strong move for white if white gets this, so that is why I wanted Sente, so I could come back and play here. And so this is where you guys are like, hey Gabe, I thought you said that this was going to be a wildly fighty game. This looks pretty normal, and it does look pretty normal. And then this move got played, and so now the next like 100 moves or so are basically the fight that starts here. Rest of the game, that's it. It's this fight for the rest of the game because it's just going to sprawl across the entire board. Because I saw no way out of it. I don't like long sprawling fights, right? You gotta recognize when the fight is over and move on. This fight just never seemed to end. I never could have like breathing room to go into Tanuki and start somewhere else. Anyway, so white Atari's only move we can consider is extending. White extends, we extend again, and now white extends with this stone. Backing it up, just going over the moves. Hopefully I don't have to go over why we need to save this stone. We need to save the stone. Now when white plays here, the issue with this is if we extend here, we're Atarying the cutting stone, which forces our opponent to get more liberties while not necessarily getting more liberties ourselves. So here, when we extend this way, yes, white extends here, but we've got more liberties with this group. And so we've got a little more room to work with. Of course, white has more liberties as well, but this is still the appropriate move here. So white has strengthened their weakest group, and so now we have to strengthen our weakest group, which are these 3 stones. This looming Hane is pretty big. Either way, we just decided to jump here. I was expecting white to come up with something like this so that I could just go and make a base. That is not what happened. White went and took the base away. So the fight continues. So we jump out this group so that we don't get surrounded. White jumps out here. I decide to go take the peep. White connects, and then we jump out again. So all we're doing here is trying to keep this group weak while we get this group stronger and we develop the right side. The issue here is white only has one group to care about, and that is this stick, as where we have 2 groups that we have to navigate with. So typically, even though we're going to be developing the side as this happens, and we're going to be getting strength while this happens, we're not going to really be able to do either efficiently, because every move our opponent plays is going to be very efficient in the context of strength of groups, which is like really all that matters when we're in fights, is how strong are your groups. And so every move that white plays is going to be like a 100% move on the strength of his group, as where ours are going to be split. So we played here, and white played the diagonal, and I decided to just play the knight's move just to close this off. I want to settle this as quickly as possible so that I can focus on the more important side of the fight, which is this. So white then presses down here, and we're at kind of a crossroads here. We have a very obvious cut here. We can also just play safe and do this. The issue is if we play here, I didn't end up playing here, but if we play here, we're letting white get more strength facing the important direction while we respond in the not important direction, which is going to make things tougher for this group. So I don't think we can do that. Also, it is important that we keep this group as weak as possible. So I went and took the cut. This move by my opponent was the first of many moves during this whole fight that I really just didn't expect. When I was doing my reading, I was thinking of, the typical 1K responses, right? Obviously, white is just going to block and we're going to cut. But you'll notice that's not where my opponent played. My opponent played here, which is not even a move I even considered. I just simply didn't consider this move. But what's nice about this is when we push and take this turn, if we were to take this turn, white's getting a lot of free moves on the outside, getting more liberties closer to our group, as compared to this, where we're getting more in this kill. There's a weakness here, but yeah. So just a surprising move that worked out pretty well. Here we went and took the peep. It's free, so we took it, and then I took the turn. In retrospect, I'm not sure if the turn is correct or not. Again, I want to keep this group as weak as possible, but our group is not the strongest either. So is it maybe worth playing a move like this just to get some good shape, move in the more open direction at the risk of this getting connected? I think in retrospect, this would have simplified the game a little bit, and we could have continued playing on. Not that this doesn't mean we can't continue on. It just obviously makes it a much more violent game. So here our opponent took some peeps. We obviously connected, and then he played this, which is another move that I wasn't necessarily expecting. So you can see white is actively surrounding us, and we need to do something about that. So I decided to push through here. If white blocks, we can Atari, and we'll be good. We'll be in good shape here because we're threatening this stone as well. So because of that, white extended, we extended, and here comes the next move that was just, I didn't even consider it as a move. Just it isn't even in my library of moves to consider in a situation like this. I was, is white going to extend? Is white just going to Hane? Nope. White played here. So white's goal with this is pretty clear now. He's going to look to develop this as much as he can while chasing our group and hopefully developing the corner as well. At least that's how I interpret this. Of course, our opponent is stronger than we are, and so what I'm interpreting isn't necessarily what his goal was. His goal could have just been, let's fight, though I don't think that was his goal. He obviously fights very well, and it looks like his attacks are with purpose. So here we take the Hane. It threatens the kill. If white ignores, just plays this, then we've got this move to kill these two stones. If you're not familiar with this is called the Bamboo Breaker. And in this case, there's really nowhere white can go. If white connects, then they're going to fall short on liberties there. Obviously, if white ignores or extends, then we get this and captures the stones. So white instead plays here. We connect, white extends. All pretty standard stuff here, and then we jump out. So things are certainly interesting, but you can see like white's developing the top and developing the center, and we've just got this group. This stick isn't fully alive yet, but it's strong enough. We've got these two stones that that we could cut if we wanted. There's a lot going on here. Our opponent played a very calm move here, just did another 1 point jump just to continue pressuring our group. And then we returned in kind and also just did another 1 point extension. At this point, I felt pretty safe with this group. There's a lot of room over here. And there are some cuts over here if we get something like G16 that's going to be annoying for this group. So there are options here. White peeps, we connect, and then white goes and plays the Tiger's Mouth here. Pretty, this is pretty consistent, right? He's done moves like this quite a bit. So now we're in an interesting point because while our group is running, it doesn't have any eyes. It's got a bajillion liberties. There's still some room here, and these stones aren't alive yet. So there are some weaknesses here that we can work with. And so I kind of pivoted to, okay, let's start attacking him a little bit. One issue that I've seen in my games, starting really with this one and then some games I've played after, is when I'm being attacked. I tend to not realize either where my opponent's weaknesses are or how to go after those weaknesses. I've reviewed some games since then and noticed that when I get attacked and get chased, I look back in the review and go, oh, wait a second. They had a weakness here that I could have exploited. Would have made this fight much easier. So we're trying to do that here. We play this move just to look to split. White makes another peep, we connect, and then white looks to cut our stones. Shouldn't be surprised by this. We are just going to take the Hane here. It's really the only move we can consider. Then white does take the cut. So more decisions. Do we go and kill this stone and not actually, necessarily get two eyes and just let white connect up freely? Doesn't look great. I just clicked through stones there. I'm sure it would have played out a little bit differently. Or do we just want to go extend, look to get some eye space here, leave this Aji here? I obviously chose this move, but that is why I chose this. This is still a fine exchange. We can go and capture this stone at any point in time. So that is why I chose this. White then played the Atari. And at this point, we've got some decisions to make. We can go and play a move like this just to get eye space, or a move like this to go into the corner and get some eye space. We've got those as options. Or we can look at weaknesses that our opponent has, try to go after them. And that's what we did here. We just did it in the wrong way. The game's complicated, right? I'm clicking through these fast, but this is, for me, this is a tough style of game. This was the third round, and while it's only the third game, each game other than this one took about 2 hours. So I was pretty mentally tired at this point in time. And so, and I still look at this as I'm defending myself. I have to live, as opposed to can I still attack my opponent? So if I wanted to keep the attack on, AI suggested this move to keep the pressure on this group. But when you play out what AI sees here, it's a variation it's just too complicated for me. And it's one of those situations that if you mess up any of the moves, then you just lose the group. And so it's a tricky one. I decided to play here with the same goal of trying to get this cut. Unfortunately, I misread. So when white Hane is here, I went and took the cut, threatening this stone, threatening this Atari. So white responded with the Atari here. I took the Atari, then I connected, and then I took the cut. I had misread. I played through this too quickly. I thought this worked. It would have ended the game if this works, obviously. Unfortunately, this does not work. I thought I was okay with this ladder, or I thought I was okay to take this. What I didn't realize was this cut Atari's the two stones. I don't know how I missed that in my reading. That's not a particularly deep read, right? You see the cut, you see the Atari, you see this, and we know we can't play here. And so so this is the move, but then this just comes with the Atari. So we realized a little too late that things didn't work there. But hey, we've got a ton of Aji here. This stone can be laddered, right? If we come out right now, there's a ladder. So if we get a ladder breaker, then all of a sudden a move like this becomes Sente, and then a move like this becomes Sente, or potentially white just goes here. So we've got a lot of Aji here. And so I was like, okay, let's break into the center, see if we can reduce this, and and maybe we'll be in okay shape. So white plays here, and I think I should just immediately push. This is a very, very, very large move, but I was still definitely worried about the life of this group. I think I had missed this at this stage of the game. I see it later in the game, but this is a way to get an eye in Gote, right? But we should be able to get an eye over here. So I think I probably should have pushed through, but I was worried about this. So I Atari, he connected, and then I played this small knights move just to get the base and some eye space here. White extended, I extended, which kind of tells me that I hadn't seen this exchange yet. And so I extend, white extends, I extend, and then white blocks the big move. And missing the timing on this, it hurt quite a bit. I was upset that I had missed this move. I think I hadn't counted, but I was like, this game's so fighty. We just have to keep the pressure on and see what we can do. So with that in mind, I just take this peep, and then I take this peep because it's free. I planned out this exchange knowing that we need to do something in the center here to have any chance of this game. And so I push, he hanes, I hane, he double hanes. At this point, we went into, did some reading. There's obviously a lot of Aji here, lots of cuts, lots of Ataris, lots of interesting things going on. And a move that I read quite a bit, because I wanted it to work, was F2. Threatens to connect, and then with this Atari here, threatens a lot of things. So we went and played this. Our opponent did some reading, realized, yep, you found a good move. And he played this, and we connected underneath. So good reduction here. I was pretty happy with this. White then went and just took the turn, and so I extended. I really hoped that our friends would play this because it looks like it threatens these 3 stones, right? If we just play away, whatever, this threatens the stones. But if White had played this, we get this Atari into this Atari into this Atari. And then we get to capture all these stones if that happens. So White can't do that. White extends, and I took timing just to play this because this move is Sente. Our opponent didn't realize that this move was Sente, and so he played here. And so I'm curious if you guys see why this move is Sente. I already showed some of the weaknesses that are in White's shape. But White took this Atari, and so I went and took this Atari. Now, if White saves this stone, we get to play here. And if White plays here, we get the snapback. And if White connects, obviously, we just get the Atari. So White can't do that. So then does White give this stone up? Well, in this case, White missed what was going on here. He played here. We got this. He played here. We played this. And he played the Atari. And then we got to capture these stones. You're going to notice when I take this that the board goes into scoring because this is where my recording ended. Unfortunately, it didn't stop here because he resigned. I was like, yeah, we got this. We're so good. It stopped recording here because I don't remember how the rest of the game goes. This game goes to counting. White is actually up by about 15 points here, and that lead does not change for the rest of the game. If we do a score estimate, it is saying White by 15.3, and that is accurate. AI agrees with this, and White does hold this lead for the remainder of the game because there really isn't too much left to be done on this board. But even though we lost this game, I'm pretty proud of this find. Right, this is finding this move. This is a difficult move for me to find. So I was happy that I was able to do this. Pretty cool that I was able to kill these 6 stones. Funny that even with killing those 6 stones, I was down by 15 points. So this game wasn't really close. I was ahead at this point only by 5 points, but it's so fighty. It's like, yeah, AI says I'm ahead if AI is playing all the moves, but it's so easy to make like a 10-point mistake in fights like this. And that's what happened when I played this. AI is like, nope, that's a 10-point mistake, and now White's winning. It happens that quickly. But very fun game, very fun tournament. So we finished 2-1. Again, beating a 1K and a 1 Dan, losing to a 2 Dan. That bumped our rank. I was at negative 1.82. Now I'm at negative 1.51. And the way AGA works is negative is the Q ranks, positive is the Don ranks. So at negative 1.51, I'm right smack in the middle of 1K, which is a good place to be. And hopefully we can play some more live tournaments and see if we can move that needle up. Anyway, that's where we're going to leave this one. Hope you guys enjoyed this series. Hope you guys enjoyed this very fighty, fun game. Anyway, as for always, thanks for coming out for another Ride and Struggle Elsewhere. Every wheel is an empty triangle. Have a good one, guys.